Tonight, 64 degrees, partly cloudy. On Friday, the high is 92 degrees and the lows is 64 degrees, partly sunny and hot. On Saturday, the high is 95 degrees, the low is 68 degrees, mostly sunny with record-tying heat. Sunday, 95 degrees is the high and 69 degrees, the low, very hot. Monday of next week, the high is 94 degrees, the low is 68 degrees. An afternoon thunderstorm in spots. Tuesday of next week, the high is 91 degrees, the low is 68 degrees. A thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon. And Wednesday of next week, the high is 87 degrees and the low is 69 degrees. An afternoon thunderstorm possible.
Today in history. Today is Friday, May 11th, the 130th. Okay. Friday, May 11th, the 131st day of 2018. There are 234 days left in the year. Today's highlight. On May 11th, 1943, during World War II, U.S. forces landed on the Aleutian island of Attu, which is held by the Japanese. The Americans took the island 19 days later. In 1502, Christopher Columbus left Cadiz, Spain, on his fourth and final trip to the Western Hemisphere. In 1647, Peter Suttesvets arrived in New Amsterdam to become governor of New Netherland. In 1858, Minnesota became the 32nd state of the Union. In 1888, songwriter Irving Berlin was born. Israel Belain in Taman, Russia. In 1927, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences was founded during a banquet at the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. In 1935, the Rural Electrification Administration was created as one of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal programs. In 1953, a tornado devastated Waco, Texas, claiming 114 lives. In 1960, Israeli agents captured Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann in Buenos Aires, Argentina. In 1973, the espionage trial of Daniel Ellsberg and Anthony Russo in the Pentagon Papers case came to an end as Judge William M. Brine dismissed all charges, citing government misconduct. In 1996, an Atlanta-bound ValueJet DC-9 caught fire shortly after takeoff from Miami and crashed into the Florida Everglades, killing all 110 people on board. Today's birthdays. We would like to wish Mr. Leon Locklear a happy birthday. Our celebrity birthdays, comedian Mort Saul is 91 years old. Jazz keyboardist Carla Bley is 82. Rock singer Eric Burdon from the Animals War is 77. Actress Cherie Agdashloo is 66. Actress Frances Fisher is 66. Country musician Mark Herndon of Alabama is 63. And actress Martha Quinn, 59. Actor Tim Blake Nelson is 54. Country musician Keith West of Heartland is 50. The actor Kobe Bell is 43. The actor singer Jonathan Jackson is 36. Rapper Ace Hood is 30. Latin singer Prince Royce is 29. Actress Annabelle Ananasu of the TV program Bull is 25.
All right. Now we move to Need to Know. Electronics Recycling Event. Recycle your e-waste on May 19th from 8 a.m. to noon at the Cumberland County Courthouse parking lot. 117 Dick Street. Recycle broken or unused electronics, including televisions 32 inches or smaller, DVD players, radios, computers, and small kitchen appliances. The items will be collected by Cumberland County Solid Waste Management. Run for the Legend. The Airborne and Special Operations Museum Foundation will hold its 11th annual Run for the Legend 5K on June 2nd at 8 a.m. Proceeds to support the museum's operational and educational programs and activities. The course begins and ends on the Hay Street side of the museum. Online registration is available through active.com. Registration also is available at the museum. Registration is $20 through June 1st. Registration is $25 the day of the race. Strollers, wagons, and well-behaved leashed dogs are permitted. The foundation also is looking for volunteers to help during the race. For more information, contact Catherine Hodge at events@asomf.org or call 643-2773. Blood drives. The Cape Fear Valley Blood Donor Center has 2 blood drives today. Donors also may go by the center at 3357 Village Drive, Suite 150. Weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to make a donation. It also is open the 3rd Saturday of the month from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. All blood types are needed. However, the center has an urgent need for type O donors. For more information, call 615-5433. Today's blood drives are at Cape Fear Valley Health System Patient Financial Services. The address is 227 Fountainhead Lane, 8 to 10 a.m. and Highsmith Rainey Specialty Hospital, and that address is 150 Robeson Street, from 12:30 to 2:30 p.m. We want to hear from you. Please submit your events in writing at least 10 days in advance. Email calendar at FAYOBSERVER.com or fax details to 486-3545. For questions, call 486-3500.
Now from the live wire of the Observer staff, seasonal snow cone repairmen are not plentiful. The question is there a repairman or business in the area that repairs snow cone machines? The answer is that calls to a couple of businesses in the Fayetteville area that serve up the seasonal snow cones or snowballs came up empty. One business owner, who did not want to be identified, said they never really had been in this situation before. Quote, "We really haven't had one that's broke," unquote, she said. In one case, that owner did suspect a bad belt and was able to successfully repair the problem after Googling it online. So to answer your question, DM, it appears there is not a person or place in the area that repairs snow machines. If so, it eludes us. However, Sandy's Concession Equipment Repair with Davis Enterprises in Lexington, South Carolina, advertises snow cone repair service according to an online search. The number is area code 803-957-9726. Another question was submitted. Major League Baseball umpire Joe West was inducted into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame last week. Where is his hometown? Asked by J.H. Roseborough. The answer, Joe West is connected to all 3 sections of the state. He was born in Asheville, so this is not his hometown, but he grew up in Greenville, where his parents were school teachers, and was at East Carolina before transferring to Elon University. There he quarterbacked a football team to 3 conference championships. In his senior year, when they were known as the Elon College Fighting Christians, the team was 12-0 and ranked number 2 in the country when it lost to the NAIA National Championship game 42-14 to an Abilene Christian team that featured future NFL players Clint Longley and Wilbert Montgomery. By the way, Longley is best remembered for two things in Dallas: subbing for Roger Staunton in the 1974 Thanksgiving Day rally past the rival Washington Redskins score of 24-23, and then sucker punching the star quarterback in the 1976 preseason. Montgomery earned a place on the Philadelphia Eagles honor roll and is in the College Football Hall of Fame. Thoreau and West, the only ump in the majors to work 5,000 games, and that was quite a cast in the NAIA title tilt. Livewire seeks to answer questions of general interest in consumer topics. Initials are used to identify questioners when a name is given. Contact Livewire at FayettevilleObserver.com or at 486-3516.
All right, we're going to move to Cumberland County arrest. Shannon Marie Ryan Pope, age 31, of the 200 block of Shannon Drive, was charged Wednesday with possessing marijuana, manufacturing marijuana, maintaining a drug house, possessing marijuana with the intent to sell and deliver, and misdemeanor possession of drug paraphernalia. Bail was set at $25,000. Nicholas Daniel Williford, age 24, of the 1200 block of Longleaf Drive, was charged Tuesday with breaking and entering. Bail was set at $5,000. Levy Rochester Melvin, age 43, of the 1100 block of Pasture Lane, was charged Tuesday with trafficking in heroin. Bail was set at $19,000. Stuart Patrick Mullaney, age 33, of the 500 block of Winding Creek Road, was charged Tuesday with financial transaction card fraud and theft of a financial transaction card. Bail was set at $5,000. Stephen Seegers Jr., age 32, of the 1600 block of Newark Avenue, was charged Tuesday with 2 counts of obtaining property by false pretense and 1 count of misdemeanor larceny. Bail was set at $10,500. Okay, so we're going to talk about break-ins. Barwick Drive, 6400 block, reported at 10:22 p.m. Tuesday, nothing reported missing. Fairview Street, 700 block, reported at 3:07 p.m. Tuesday, money was taken. Hay Street, Latitude 35 Bar and Grill at 1217 Hay Street, reported at 8:30 a.m. Tuesday, alcoholic beverage, money was taken. Tellius Drive, reported at 6:49 p.m. Monday, nothing reported missing. North Street, TC Berrien Elementary School at 800 North Street, reported at 12:14 p.m. Monday, nothing reported missing. Thefts. Rustic Trail, PV Jean Lanier, reported at 9:35 a.m. Monday that a handgun was missing from his vehicle parked on Rustic Trail. Butler Nursery Road, Dakota Keith Evans, reported at 9:01 a.m. Monday that a .22 caliber rifle was missing from his home on Butler Nursery Road. Oh my God.
And now from the Fayetteville Observer front page, staff article. The article was written by Greg Barnes, the staff writer. Chemours says it will invest in plant. The chemical company responsible for contaminating drinking water for thousands of people in southeastern North Carolina says it will spend more than $100 million to keep Gen X and related compounds from being discharged into the air at its Bladen County plant. Quote, Chemours is making this investment to demonstrate its commitment to continuing to operate the facility in North Carolina and to resolve community concerns, unquote. The company says in a 30-page response to a legal notice from the State Department of Environmental Quality last month. The notice filed April 6 and amended 3 days later, says the state will prohibit all air emissions of Gen X and related chemicals if Chemours cannot demonstrate within 60 days that it can operate without causing further groundwater contamination. The state has found that air emissions are a significant source of high levels of contamination in lakes, streams, and private wells surrounding the plant. The state received a response from Chemours on April 27th and is in the process of fully evaluating it, according to a statement from the DEQ. Chemours contends that it would be unable to operate if the state banned all air emissions. In its response, Chemours says it will make an A in its plant, including a thermal oxidizer and other state-of-the-art technology that will eliminate 99% of all air emissions of Gen X and related compounds. The company said it expects to have the full array of technological improvements in place by late 2019 or early 2020. It said it will continue to significantly reduce emissions in the interim, including by 70% within 5 months. Quote, Chemours is committed to enhancing our operations in North Carolina and being a valued member of the local community, unquote. Brian Long, manager of Chemours in the Fayetteville Works plant, said in a statement released Wednesday, quote, since we first became aware of the community's concerns, we have focused our attention not on public debate, but on finding ways to virtually eliminate air and water emissions from our operations. We believe we now have the right answer for the long term, which is why we have started outreach efforts with the surrounding community, unquote. David Andrews, senior scientist for the Environmental Working Group in Washington, applauded the state's stance against Chemours. Andrews said Chemours has consistently downplayed the health risk and underestimated the amount of its contamination. Quote, the drafted response from Chemours' law firm is inadequate to protect public health, unquote, he said. The lawyers argue that the state should allow pollution to continue because the surrounding area is already polluted and will be for years, but Gen X levels will only increase a little bit more. Quote, the state should continue to take quick action to end this ongoing contamination and not wait years for Chemours to slowly clean up its act, unquote. In its response to the state, Chemours says it was surprised to receive the notice in light of the improvements it plans to make. It also takes exception to the state's threat to, quote, modify the air quality permit to prohibit emissions of Gen X compounds, unquote. Should the company fail to adequately respond to the state's demands? The DEQ's Division of Air Quality, quote, knows such a standard would be impossible for Chemours to meet, and DEQ has never imposed such a standard on anyone else or as to any other compound, unquote, the response says. It also says that Gen X and other materials it produces are critical to the economy of North Carolina and the nation. Fluoropolymers are key materials in cars, airplanes, cell phones, and life-saving medical equipment, the response says. Chemours, Fayetteville's work plant, is among the nation's biggest producers of those materials. The response says the company supplies a substantial percentage of fluoropolymers to the military and the automobile and semiconductor industries, all of which would face critical shortages or be forced to use markets in China and elsewhere overseas. Chemours has come under fire since the Wilmington Star News reported in June that Gen X and other potential carcinogenic chemical compounds were found in high concentrations in treated drinking water supplies serving New Hanover.
Ex-city worker files gender bias suit. A former city employee has filed a lawsuit against the city alleging she was not paid the same nor treated the same because she is a woman. Kelly Blaisley, the former assistant director of the Fayetteville Area System of Transit, specifically cited gender discrimination by Deputy City Manager Christoph Bohr. According to the suit filed in Cumberland County Civil Superior Court in April, Blaisley, who resigned from her job July 2nd, is seeking compensation and punitive damages, back pay, and jury trial. Blaisley held her position from 2012 to 2017. She filed a grievance in October with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which found merit in her claims. She says Bohr would not approve her request to have her position reclassified, which would increase her pay by 10% and entitle her to back pay. The suit alleges that Bohr had both a reputation and a pattern and practice of resistant advancement and equitable treatment of female managerial in violation of federal prohibitions against gender discrimination. The allegations of the lawsuit are simply not true, said Kevin Arata, a spokesman for the city. One of the top priorities is to treat people fairly and follow all equal opportunity laws. Arata said he spoke for Bohr and city lawyer Karen McDonald. The suit says Bohr authorized a reclassification of the assistant airport director, a man, to deputy director with a more than 10% hike in salary. While Blaisley's job was reclassified, it was a lower pay grade and without back pay, which is required under the city's policy. She maintains Bohr prevented that. Blaisley filed her request in 2015 to reflect an increase in her duties and to make the position consistent with those in other municipalities. She collected data from contacts in other cities and gave it to her supervisor, who approved the request. It was passed on to Bohr, who initially approved a study of the request. Human Resources asked for Blaisley's data, which she promptly gave them. The suit says several months later, Blaisley was told that her request had never been submitted to Human Resources. A second request was given to Bohr, who was asked to sign and submit. He did, but listed the date of that request rather than the first. In doing so, the suit says Bohr deprived Blaisley of retroactive pay. The City of Fayetteville policy, when a reclassification request is approved, is effective based on the date the department director signed it. The suit says Bohr told Blaisley several months later that he was unaware that her request was still being reviewed. He promised to look into it and get back with Blaisley in 7 days, which he did not do. The suit says Blaisley filed a grievance with her supervisor in April 2017. She later received an email from Human Resources that her position will be bumped up 2 pay grades and her salary would increase by 10%. The move was approved by Bohr, but a day later, Blaisley learned her position was dropped a grade, even though the move was reflected in city records as a reclassification. She was not given back pay. Blaisley filed a second grievance in May 2017. Having not received the required 7-day response to her first one, she was told the next month that her reclassification was not eligible for back pay since it was being treated as an equity adjustment. Despite documentation stating otherwise, Blaisley allegedly was told by Human Resources that her original request was not approved. During a grievance hearing in June 2017, Bohr maintained Blaisley's job did not warrant a reclassification and that she should have expected an increase in her duties. During the EEOC investigation of Blaisley's complaint, the city submitted a memo from Human Resources to Bohr that was titled Assistant Transit Director Position Review. Supporting Blaisley's request, the document said the memo detailed Human Resources review of Blaisley's request and gave Bohr 5 options for a response. The options include no pay grade adjustment and salary increases of 5 and 10%, reclassification with a 10% pay hike, other or do nothing. Board, the documents say we selected the reclassification option with a 10%, calling it an equity review.
FSU students land coveted internships by Amanda Dolininsky. Some of Fayetteville State University's brightest students are headed to the country's most prestigious institutions for summer internships, including some who will conduct research in medical laboratories. 8 students have earned spots for internships at Harvard University, Cornell University, Texas A&M, Syracuse University, and Fudan University in Shanghai, China. The students credit the guidance and mentorship of Subir Nagdas, a biochemistry professor. It's almost surreal, said Don Eifert, 23, who was studying chemistry and earned an internship at Harvard's medical school. I didn't know or expect the opportunity to come. Eifert is the first in his family to attend college and obtain a bachelor's degree. He is the son of Jennifer Eifert and credits his drive to his aunt Louise Moore and his grandmother Maddie Wade. He had a vocational degree in welding and was working when he decided to enroll in college. He had always been interested in the medical field, so he decided to take chemistry courses. He hopes to continue his education and earn a PhD so he can be part of cardiovascular research. Both of his grandmothers suffered from heart problems, he said. I just want to find a way to treat it, he said. During his summer internship at Harvard, Eifert will be doing research on cell division. Marissa Bacchus, 21, conducted research on DNA repair during her internship with Cornell last year. She's set to graduate with a degree in chemistry this week and is headed back to Cornell to obtain a master's degree. She is also the first in her family to graduate from college. At first, I wanted to be a pediatrician, but then I got involved with research in the lab, she said. This is what I'm really passionate about. Bacchus grew up in Jamaica and decided to attend college in Fayetteville to be closer to her father. She credits her parents, Maureen and Jacob Bacchus, for pushing her to further her education. My parents always motivated me to go to college, she said. They always wanted me to do better than them. Fayetteville State Chancellor James Anderson said the students' acceptance into the internship programs is a testament of the high-quality training that they have received in their educational academic programs. They compete with other excellent students from around the country for acceptance. They should feel validated that they belong among the best because they are the best. He added, as a graduate of an Ivy League institution, a PhD earned from Cornell University, I can attest to the highly competitive environments that our students will be moving into. They deserve every accolade that comes their way.
Some races likely to turn ugly. I explained to my 5-year-old Tuesday morning that on election day, we pick our leaders, at least the political ones. He and his younger sister accompanied me to our precinct, a firehouse, and they later went again with my wife, who cast her ballot in the afternoon. I did not explain to Sam why just 1 in 10 people eligible to pick our leaders choose to do so, because that still doesn't make good sense to me. But the unofficial numbers from Tuesday seem fairly typical for a primary. 10.89% of Cumberland County's 212,458 eligible voters participated, to include early voting. According to the figures from the North Carolina State Board of Elections, the official canvass of the vote is scheduled for 11 a.m. on May 18th. Says Terry Robertson, Elections Director. Around the county and region, upsets were in short supply as voters mostly stuck with the people they knew.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the SENCRRS in mind. Our post office box is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please contact us at 910-672-1600 or toll free at 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts today are Bridget Alexander and Tamara Rhoda, and we are proud to serve you today.
All right. So let's pick back up where we left off. The official canvass of the vote is scheduled for 11 a.m. on May 18th, says Terry Robertson, Elections Director. Around the county and region, upsets were in short supply as voters mostly stuck with the people they knew. In a notable exception, Mark Harris knocked off Robert Pittenger in the Republican primary for U.S. House District 9. It was a hard-fought rematch from 2 years ago when Harris fell just short in the district that covers several counties, including Cumberland. The race made national news as Pittenger earned the distinction of being the first House incumbent to lose his seat in the 2018 cycle. Pittenger is as strong a Trump ally as there exists in the U.S. House, and his race with Harris was defined by both men trying to demonstrate who could hug Trump the hardest. Pittenger, in a press release Wednesday, did not sound like he was ready to make nice, accusing his opponent, a pastor, of making claims that were all fabricated and nonsense. We were blindsided with these baseless attacks and clearly did not respond in an adequate manner. Pittenger wrote in the release, which also thanked his supporters. At any rate, a mega battle is brewing for November in the district between Harris and Dan McCready, a Democrat. Libertarian Jeff Scott is also in the race. McCready in an easy win over opponent Christian Cano received more votes than Pittenger. Harris and a third candidate, Clarence Goins, combined 37,823 to 35,494. Look for that one to get nasty and expensive as both national parties jump in with both feet in a key district as well as outside interests. U.S. House District 8 could get rough, too, as Frank McNeil, who soundly defeated two opponents in a Democratic primary on Tuesday, tried to unseat Republican incumbent Richard Hudson in November. And at least one side of the state Senate race in District 19 expects that contest to turn ugly too. Kirk DeVere, a former Fayetteville City Councilman, beat former District Court Judge Clarence Egg Donaldson on Tuesday in the Democratic primary and will face four-term Republican incumbent Wesley Meredith, who had no primary opponent. The district covers Cumberland County. DeVere said he expects Meredith to be aggressively negative out of the gate. He cited Meredith's past tough campaigns, including a 2010 TV ad where he cast then incumbent Margaret Dickinson as a prostitute. I did not hear from Meredith, whose cell phone I called and from whom I left a text message and email. DeVere said he will focus on fully funding public education, Medicaid expansion, and clean water, citing the issue of potentially carcinogenic Gen X found in Grace Creek wells, an issue he says Meredith has done nothing about. Meanwhile, another race that could be highly competitive is the State House District 44, where Republican Linda DeVore, a party activist, put together an impressive door-to-door campaign to handily defeat Patrick Petschue. With 67% of the vote, she will face incumbent Billy Richardson, who in 2016 defeated Jim Opp, a Fayetteville City Councilman, with just over 1% of the vote. As candidates gear up their campaigns for the long stretch until November 6th, we citizens should remember we have a job to do too. In other words, stay informed, get registered if you are not, and hopefully vote in much better numbers than we did on Tuesday.
Patrol says drunk driver hit and killed boy. Lumberton. A 4-year-old Robinson County boy was killed Tuesday in a Pembroke parking lot after being hit by an impaired driver, the Highway Patrol said. It happened at 3:26 p.m. at the Country Tobacco Oasis store at 2791 Prospect Road, less than a half-mile east of NC 710 and 3 miles north of the Pembroke town limits, according to a report filed by Trooper C.B. Kennedy. Nancy Louise Ransom, 55, of the 2900 block of Missouri Road in Pembroke, had stopped her 2002 Chevrolet Sport utility vehicle facing north in the parking lot, the report said. At the same time, the child, who was not identified, was kneeling down facing the same direction, about 20 in front of the SUV. Ransom pulled her vehicle forward and began to make a left turn out of the parking lot when the front bumper hit the boy, the report said. An unidentified trooper who arrived quickly attempted CPR on the child, but the boy was pronounced dead at Southeastern Regional Medical Center, Sergeant R.D. Wright said Wednesday. Ransom is charged with felony death by vehicle and driving while impaired, Wright said, as well as several traffic violations. Ransom was not injured, nor was the passenger in her vehicle, Wright said. This is the third fatal traffic accident involving an impaired driver in Robeson County since early Saturday, when Atiska Shea Locklear, 25, of Shannon, was killed in a 2-vehicle crash on Moss Neck Road near Pembroke. She was a passenger in a vehicle driven by Cody Tyler Strickland, 21, of Pembroke, who was charged with second-degree murder and driving while impaired. Early Sunday, Austin Orion Strickland, 20, of Pembroke, died when he was thrown from a vehicle driven by Carolyn Lee Chikatoa Burns, 29, also of Pembroke. The vehicle ran off Union Chapel Church at Evergreen Road and rolled over. Burns is charged with driving while impaired. Other charges are pending, Wright said. Staff writer Nancy McCleary can be reached at nmmcleary at fayettevilleobserver.com or 486-3568.
Digital Marketing Seminar is May 23rd. The Fayetteville Observer is offering a free digital marketing seminar that will feature an expert from Google. The May 23rd breakfast event at the Cape Fear Botanical Garden is for small to mid-sized businesses looking to expand their digital presence and be easily searchable online. Attendees will learn about the value of a digital marketing strategy and how to best use it to reach their right customers at the right time. Marissa Friedman, a Google certified speaker, has a background in business intelligence, big data, and advanced analytics. She has run teams across the 6 countries. The seminar begins at 8:30 a.m. with breakfast and networking. The seminar is 9 to 10:30. Registration is required at the thrivehive.com. Just thrivehive.com/Fayetteville. For questions, contact Beth Hess at bhess@fayeobserver.com or call 910-486-3505.
2 charged in Robeson armed robbery by Nancy McCleary. Lumberton. 2 men have been charged in an armed robbery of a store in Orem, the Robeson County Sheriff's Office said Wednesday. Deputies responded about 4 p.m. Monday to a report of an armed robbery at Oak Ridge Grocery and Fish Market at 6730 Wire Glass Road, about 5 miles east of Fairmont, a sheriff's office release said. Lawmen were given a description of a blue 1990 Buick, which left the scene and was found at the 6-mile marker of Interstate 95 South, the release said. 2 men identified as suspects in the robbery were in the vehicle and arrested. Daniel Wilson Bethea, 24, of Richland County in South Carolina, had been shot. Gregory Eugene Davis, 25, of the 1000 block of East White Pond Road in Fairmont, was also in the Buick. Each is charged with robbery and a dangerous weapon conspiracy and kidnapping, the release said. Bethea, who was taken to Southeastern Regional Medical Center and transferred to another facility, also is charged with assault by pointing a gun. Bail for Davis, also charged with misdemeanor assault and battery in possession of firearm by a felon, was set at $1 million. Anyone with information is asked to call the Sheriff's Office at 910-671-3845.
Soldiers prepare for medical badge tests. An Army medic peered from behind a wall as smoke wafted between his position and a nearby 2-story building, where 3 soldiers moaned in pain. "I'm coming to you," the medic shouted above the din of simulated machine gun fire and Fox artillery blasts. Sprinting to their aid, he quickly triaged the 3 soldiers, identifying and treating the most seriously wounded first, and then making his way to the least injured. As he worked, the medic talked his way through his care, explaining each step. As he spoke, another soldier sat nearby and carefully watched his eyes, occasionally glancing down at a clipboard. This, according to Fort Bragg officials, is what right looks like. The demonstration was part of the preparation for expert field medical badge testing next week, in which more than 300 soldiers and 1 sailor will push themselves mentally and physically for one of the Army's most coveted and most difficult to earn skills badge. Of the more than 300 candidates spanning 12 military installations and the Uniformed Services University of Health Sciences, only about 55 or so are expected to earn the badge by the end of next week, said Major Brian Croker, one of the event coordinators. The 18th Airborne Corps is hosting the testing at Fort Bragg's Medical Simulation Training Center. It is one of the 2 tests for the badge offered at Fort Bragg each year, and one of the only 10 such tests offered across the Army. Croker, Deputy Surgeon for the 82nd Airborne Division, said the week ahead of the testing, known as Standardization Week, was important to ensure that candidates are positioned for success in this grueling training that lies ahead. They are getting a chance to see everything, Croker said. We're going to take them through the lanes. They will get hands-on time to learn and refine. Last year, only 18% of the soldiers who tested for the expert field medical badge earn it, and many who do earn it do so only after multiple attempts. Sergeant Gerald Esposito earned his badge after 3 attempts and now serves as one of the more than 200 soldiers from across Fort Bragg who are supporting the training in various roles. The coveted badge earns a soldier instant credibility, Esposito said, and with good reason. It's all about effort, he said. You got to want this badge. Esposito and Sergeant Alden Donahue, both assigned to the 82nd Combat Team, 82nd Airborne Division, said the test is marked by long days, stress, and limited sleep. "I didn't stop studying until midnight," says Donahue, who earned his badge on his first attempt in 2016. Officials said they expect 15 to 20% of all candidates to fail out of the testing each day. That can be surreal experience for those who remain, Donahue said. He began the testing in a platoon of 90 soldiers, he said, and by the time the testing was finished, only 7 had successfully completed it. "I didn't expect to be there," Donahue said, "it was very rewarding. The badge brings with it an added confidence, not only in yourself, but from other soldiers," the two said. "It also helps with promotions and provides credit towards some medical certifications. But most importantly," Donahue said, "the grueling test prepares soldiers for real-life scenarios." Donahue said he learned how to treat injuries from chemical attacks while testing for the Expert Field Medical Badge. And last year, while deployed with the 2nd Brigade Combat Team in Iraq, he put those skills to the test when treating victims of mustard gas attack. Croker said every soldier who tries out for the badge should be able to take something away from the testing. "It builds readiness," he said. "They're going to come out better." That's at least what PFC Timothy Torp hopes. Torp is a combat medic with the 91st Military Police Battalion of Fort Drum, which is part of the 10th Military Police Brigade. He said he didn't want to take part in the testing at first, but decided the experience could help him in his career. If nothing else, it would be a good learning experience, he said. He said he plans on taking the testing one day at a time and focusing on finer details while trying to avoid getting lost in the larger effort. "It's step by step," Torp said. The Expert Field Medical Badge was created in 1965 to recognize exceptional competence and outstanding performance by medical personnel. Croker said the requirements for the badge have evolved over years. In 2000, when Croker earned the badge, he said the testing of each skill was done individually. Now all skills tests are integrated into scenarios that replicate the stress of the battlefield. "It's much more difficult now," he said. "It's physically taxing and takes a lot of attention to detail." Captain James Regan of the 44th Medical Brigade, 240 Special Team, is overseeing the medical skills lane. He said it's historically the toughest event of the test, with candidates required to follow a scenario designed to provide the sounds, sights, and smells of combat. Expert Field Medical Badge testing officially begins on Sunday. Croker said launching a 5.5-day effort that will include written tests, day and night, land navigation, 3 combat skills lanes, and a 12-mile rock march. The 3 skills lanes will each focus on numerous areas of evaluation, including moving under fire, responding to chemical attack, providing medical care in several scenarios, evacuating wounded troops, and communications. During the testing, candidates live in 4 large tents set up on Medical Simulation Training Center grounds. They will work from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. each night. Of the 302 candidates, the majority are from Fort Bragg, and 229 of them come from the 18th Airborne Corps units, including those from Fort Bragg, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, Fort Drum, New York, and Fort Stewart, Georgia. Other candidates came from U.S. Army Special Operations Command. Officials said their ranks range from private to major, and they include 19 medical specialties, including medics, laboratory technicians, medical evacuation pilots, and physical assistants, among others. The badge means the same thing for all of them. "When you see it, you recognize it," Croker said. "It's a symbol of excellence."
Grandmother's bail increased by Nancy McCleary. Bail for the Fayetteville grandmother accused of failing to get medical attention for her infant grandchild was increased Wednesday in Cumberland County District Court. Judge Tall Baggett raised bail for Mary Bagley Hughes, 63 of the 2300 block of Illinois Court, from $10,000 to $100,000 at her first appearance hearing. Hughes was charged Tuesday with 2 counts of child abuse by neglect. She is the mother of Amanda Frances Hughes, 31, of the 3500 block of Ashton Court, who is accused of trying to kill her child and intentionally causing the baby to have a skull fracture. Amanda Hughes was charged Monday with 1 count of attempted first-degree murder and 2 counts each of felony child abuse charge by intentional physical injury and felony child abuse by neglect. In March, she allegedly tried to kill her child, then 3 months old, by holding the back of the baby's head between 2 fingers and pushing on it, causing injuries including fluid on the brain and a skull fracture. In April, Amanda Hughes is accused of deliberately harming the then 5-month-old child and causing a skull fracture. At the time, the Cumberland County Department of Social Services had removed the child from Amanda Hughes's custody, giving that to Mary Hughes. Amanda Hughes was to have only supervised visits, but when she was left alone with the baby, when the April incident happened, according to District Attorney Billy West. The baby's father, Alfred Dion Champagne, 48, who lives at the Ashton Court residence, is charged with 2 counts of child abuse by neglect and failing to seek medical care for the infant. His bail was increased Tuesday from $50,000 to $400,000.
Help wanted, inquire within. The City Council tacked a help wanted sign on the City Hall door this week. We're hoping for a strong response from qualified candidates. The opening is for the District 2 seat just vacated by former Councilman Tyrone Williams. He resigned in the wake of revelations that he had, just weeks after taking office, tried to get a $15,000 from a downtown developer in exchange for fixing what Williams said was a flaw in the Prince Charles Hotel's legal title. The conversation was recorded and became the subject of an FBI investigation. The controversy consumed the council and cast an ethical cloud over City Hall. We are relieved that Williams finally recognized that and resigned several weeks after the council began formal removal proceedings. District 2 includes the downtown area and a bit of Haymont Hill, along with several of the city's most impoverished neighborhoods. The majority of its residents are African American. Given the range of the people and the issues that the district encompasses, it requires bright, capable, and creative leadership. The council members will review the applications, screen the applicants, take feedback from district residents, and then appoint a new member. The city is taking applications until May 18th. Please step up, applicants. This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the SENCRRS in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600 or our toll-free number of 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts are Bridget Alexander and Tamara Rhoda, and we are proud to serve you today.
The Observer's editorials. The primary shows signs of coming change. That may indeed be a blue wave coming, or it may be the kind of wave that sweeps away incumbents from both sides of the aisle. It's hard to say, but the signs are pointing to a November election that will usher in change. There will certainly be a big change in North Carolina's 9th congressional district, which stretches from Charlotte to Fayetteville. Republican Rep. Robert Pittenger lost in the Republican primary to Charlotte pastor Mark Harris, who came within 134 votes of Pittenger when the two faced off in the primary 2 years ago. Harris successfully exploited Pittenger's connection with President Trump and otherwise ran to Pittenger's right. Harris's next test will be tougher, facing a Democrat, Dan McCready, who cruised to an easy win in Tuesday's Democratic primary. McCready heads into the nearly 6-month sprint into the November election with about $1.2 million in his campaign fund, while Harris has about $80,000 cash in hand and will need to scramble furiously to raise more in a race with an opponent who will get big-time support from Washington and from many Charlotte area business leaders. The race is similar to the one for the 13th congressional district in the Greensboro area, where incumbent Republican Ted Budd will face Democrat businesswoman Kathy Manning, a party activist and prolific fundraiser who already has a war chest well over $1 million and has drawn substantially more financial support than Budd. McCready's and Manning's paths to victory, though, depend heavily on the continued enthusiasm of Democratic voters, who will show up at the polls in greater numbers than Republicans in many races across the state, and in other states as well. If the GOP can't close the gap by November, it may face painful losses. Closer to home, there were few surprises in races for the General Assembly and for local political seats. Sheriff Enos Wright was the overwhelming victor in the Democratic primary, winning nearly 83% of the vote, and Charlie Baxley, the GOP candidate in 2016, had no trouble outrunning his three opponents, winning 54% of his primary vote. Former Fayetteville City Councilman Kirk DeVere easily beat retired Judge Ed Donaldson by more than 2,000 votes in the Democratic primary for the NC State District 19 race. But now he runs into a Republican Senator Wesley Meredith's well-financed and successful campaign machine that in the past hasn't hesitated to gain advantage by tossing plenty of dirt on opponents. Cumberland County's other state Senate seat, District 21, appears likely to stay in Democratic hands in November after Senator Ben Clark turned back another challenge from Spring Lake physician Naveed Aziz. The two had dueled in 2016 in a race that saw questions about Aziz's residency in the district. This time it was Aziz's camp bringing accusations that Clark had stopped living in the district. The local and state boards of elections rejected those claims. And as he did in 2016, Clark used his strength in Hope County to win the contest. He'll face Republican Timothy Lever of Fayetteville in November in a district that leans heavily Democratic. Two other state races are worthy of note because they involve leading practitioners of the controversial gerrymandering that has helped Republicans clamp an iron grip on the General Assembly and our congressional delegation. Rep. Justin Burr, a Stanley County Republican, lost his primary race by a wide margin. Burr most recently became the leading architect of redistricting proposals that would have brought change to the state's judicial districts, likely adding even more politics to the race that shouldn't be tainted by it. And former state Senator Bob Rucco, who played a major role in some of the remapping efforts rejected by the courts, lost in his bid to come back from retirement. We hope both defeats are a sign that voters have had it with the lawmakers' gerrymandering antics. And we hope the primary was a preview of an election season highlighted by spirited debate of the issues and the election of a General Assembly and a Congress that will be able to transcend hyperpartisanship and get some good work done for their state and country.
Truth grows even more elusive. If reality is altered, what can we believe in? In 1994, there was the headline of the first column I ever wrote about the manipulation of images and words. Digital lines that made it difficult to know what was really real. Small wonder, I said, we were a nation paralyzed by cynicism. We were a nation paralyzed by cynicism. 24 years later, the technology has improved. While social media have made the lies ubiquitous, and cynicism would be a feasible word for the state of the union today. When the very idea of notable truth is in controversy, an advisor to a lying president speaks airily of the alternative facts. The news is filled with conspiracy theories, and it has become distressingly clear that many of us simply don't care, blithely rejecting all facts that collide with preferred fictions. The scary thing is, it's about to get worse. That's according to After the Fact, a troubling and essential new book by USA Today reporter Nathan Boney, which traces the course of this intellectual unraveling. He writes that new technology will soon open the door to an era of audio manipulation, the implications of which are staggering. Consider that it is already possible, with a little tech savvy, to produce an image or video of you doing something you never did. Well, now it will be possible to pair that with the audio of you saying in your own voice, something you never said.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the SENCRRS in mind. Our post office box is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please contact us at 910-672-1600 or toll free at 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts today are Bridget Alexander and Tamara Rhoda, and we are proud to serve you.
So how did we reach this point? Journalists said Boney in a telephone interview used to be gatekeepers in the sense that we took responsibility for authenticating information, and people trusted us to try to sort fact from fiction. Now social media has put individual people in charge of authenticating information on their own, and most people aren't trained to do that. Complicating matters, he said, is the natural human tendency to ignore the truth. Though the retreat from facts has been most noticeable among conservatives, thanks to their megaphone of cable news, talk radio, and internet conspiracy sites. Boney said it is not unique to them. While the right denies the fact of climate change, for instance, liberals are more likely to deny the facts about genetically modified food, which is a big issue when it comes to poverty in Africa. Nor said Bernie, is this limited to the United States? He cited a recent New York Times story about a false rumor carried by Facebook that ignited deadly clashes in Sri Lanka. I think this is a huge global problem. Look at the sheer scale of Facebook in particularly, more than 2 billion users on a monthly basis. It just dwarfs anything else in the media. There is no outlet that has that kind of impact. It's certainly global and it's growing. Bomi described himself as fairly pessimistic about the future of information, but he doesn't see at least a glimmer of hope, albeit in an unlikely place. Journalism education is something we need to do more of. Even if an individual isn't going to be a journalist, I think we need to teach the principles of journalism in schools, validating sources and trying to authenticate what is and is not real. That's what we do on a daily basis. Well, now that's what you need to do as a citizen. It can't happen soon enough. A nation where climate change is a hoax, but the Hillary Clinton pedophile ring is real. Where trust in news media is declining, but measles is staggering a comeback. Is a nation sowing the seeds of its own demise? Worse, it's a nation spoiling for a hard lesson from an unforgiving teacher? See, you may ignore reality all you wish. Reality will never return the favor.
The following deaths have been reported. See upcoming editions of the Fayetteville Obsever for complete obituary information. Cumberland County. Shaquille McLean, 25, of Fayetteville, formerly of Red Springs. L.E. Floyd Funeral Home and Cremations. David Galvez Rodriguez, 88, of Fayetteville, Cunnings & Sons Mortuary. Cape Fear Region. Shirley Mary Hall, 84, of Broadway, Smith Funeral Home, Broadway. Nadine S. Pope, 56, of Clinton, Crumbler Honeycutt Funeral Home. Novella Sanders, 84, of Lexington, formerly of Lumberton, Floyd Mortuary and Crematory, Lumberton. John Hugh Warwick, 86, of Aberdeen, formerly of Laurinburg, Richard Bowles Funeral Service. Joan Carroll Hornbuckle, 61, of Lumberton, Floyd Mortuary and Crematory, Lumberton. Jenny L. Harris, 90, of White Lake, Bladen Gaskins Funeral Home. James Otis Leach, of Brooklyn, New York, formerly of Scotland County, Morris Funeral Home. James M. Grice, 65, of Laurinburg, Richard Bowles Funeral Service. Akiko K. Walters, 43, of St. Paul's, Reeves Funeral Home, Hope Mills. Helen Moody, 78, of St. Paul's, S&L Funeral Home, Maxton. Funerals today. Allenby. Selena Carroll, 63, of Fayetteville, 1 p.m. Pinecrest Funeral and Cremation Services. Burial to follow, Big Rockfish Presbyterian Church Cemetery. Pinecrest Funeral and Cremation Services, Hope Mills. McNair, Wilhelmina, 78, of Fayetteville, 1 p.m. Cape Fear Conference D Center. Burial, Rockfish Memorials, Rogers and Breeze Funeral Home. Farrington, Marion, 81, of Cameron, 2 p.m. Countryside Presbyterian Church, Cameron. Burial, Countryside Presbyterian Church Cemetery. Adcock Funeral Home. Dixon, Sarah, 92, of Fayetteville, 11 a.m. Graveside. Burial will be at Cross Creek Cemetery, Rogers and Breeze Funeral Home. Sandra Alphen Stolafis, 66, of Fayetteville, died Tuesday, May 8th, 2018. Funeral services will be held on Saturday, May 12th, 2018 at 11 o'clock a.m. at Jernigan Warren Chapel with the Reverend Eddie Brookshire officiating. Burial will follow in Judson Baptist Church Cemetery. The family will receive friends from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Saturday prior to service at Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. In lieu of flowers, memorials may be made to Judson Baptist Church Cemetery Fund, 505 Judson Church Road, Fayetteville, North Carolina, 28312. Manfred Jacob Klein of Fayetteville, 78, passed away Friday, May 4th, 2018 at UNC Hospital in Chapel Hill. He was born on April 14th, 1940, to Mr. Jacob and Johanna Klein in Bonn, Germany. A celebration of life will be held Saturday, May 12th, 2018 at 1 p.m. at the Christus Victor Lutheran Church located at 1201 Hope Mills Road, Fayetteville. The family will receive visitors in the fellowship hall after service. Services provided by Reeves Funeral Home of Hope Mills. Douglas Rowland Estep, Fayetteville, 62, passed away Tuesday, May 8th, 2018. A memorial service will be held at 2 o'clock p.m. Friday, May 11th, 2018 in Rogers and Brees Funeral Home Chapel. The family will receive friends from 12:45 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. prior to service at the funeral home. Services entrusted to Rogers and Brees Funeral Home. James Irvin Powell, Fayetteville, 62, died Tuesday, May 1st, 2018. Funeral will be Friday, 10 o'clock a.m., Thaddeus Chapel. Visitation, Colvin Funeral Home Chapel, Thursday, 4 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. Burial, Sand Hill State Veterans Cemetery, Colvin Funeral Home Chapel. Martha H. Tillman, Rome, Fayetteville, 47, of 2712 Georgia Avenue in Fayetteville. Died Sunday, April 29th, 2018. Funeral Friday, 1 o'clock p.m. Viewing at the funeral home, Friday noon to 1 p.m. Burial, Sandy Grove Church Cemetery in Wade. Herring Funeral Care and Cremations. Thelma Mae Williams, 79, of Fayetteville. Died Saturday, May 5th, 2018. Funeral will be Friday, 8 o'clock a.m., Wiseman Mortuary Chapel. Viewing at the funeral home, Thursday, 2 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. Burial, Sand Hill State Veterans Cemetery, Wiseman Mortuary.
Regions and elsewhere. Obituaries: Betty B. Wright, Southern Pines. Betty Beener Wright of Southern Pines, formerly of Radford, died Tuesday, May 8, 2018 at First Health Hospice in Pinehurst at the age of 87. A visitation will be held from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Friday, May 11, 2018 at Radford Evangelical Methodist Church, 379 West Palmer Street, Radford, North Carolina. A funeral service will be held at 2 p.m. at Radford Evangelical Methodist Church with Reverend Roger Burns officiating. In light of flowers, memorials may be made to Radford Evangelical Methodist Church Building Fund, P.O. Box 1863, Radford, North Carolina 28326. First Health Hospice and Palliative Care, 251 Campground Road, West End, North Carolina 27376. Or Boys and Girls Home of North Carolina, P.O. Box 127, Lake Waccamaw, North Carolina 28450. Lila Mae Wilson Burney of Wilmington, age 91, of Wilmington, died Tuesday, May 8, 2018. Graveside service will be held Saturday, 2 p.m., Hillcrest Cemetery, Lake Waccamaw. Visitation, Mackenzie Mortuary, Whiteville, Saturday, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. Burial, Hillcrest Cemetery, Lake Waccamaw. Mackenzie Mortuary, Whiteville. Margaret B. Webster, Chester, Virginia, formerly of Red Springs. Margaret Bertha McNeil Webster, 97, of Chester, Virginia, died on April 10, 2018. A memorial service to celebrate her life will be held from 11 a.m. May 12, 2018 at Antioch Presbyterian Church with Reverend Jim Smith officiating. Services for the family are entrusted to Crumpler Funeral Home, 220 East 4th Avenue, Red Springs, North Carolina, 28377. Online condolences may be made at www.crumplerfh.com. Jeannie L. Harris, White Lake. Jeannie Nance Lovett Harris, age 90, of White Lake, North Carolina, passed away on Monday, May 7, 2018 at Wesley Pines Nursing Home in Lumberton, North Carolina. The family will receive friends from 2 to 3 p.m. on Friday, May 11, 2018, followed by a funeral service at 3 p.m. at Bladen Gaskins Funeral Home in Elizabethtown. Burial will follow the services in the Hickory Grove Baptist Church Cemetery in Bladenboro. In light of flowers, donations may be sent to Elizabethtown Baptist Church Building Fund or the charity of one's of choice.
From the writings of the Reverend Billy Graham. Question. My parents were religious and we always went to church, but once I graduated and got a job in another city, I left all that behind. Most of my friends are the same way. Maybe we'll get back to God when we're older. But we're happy the way we are, and that's what's important to us. GB. Answer. Let me ask you a question. Are you convinced, absolutely convinced, that you're the right road? And are you sure, absolutely sure, that it will bring you true and lasting happiness? I don't think you are sure. Otherwise, why would you have written me? Even if you have only a small seed of doubt in your mind about the way you're living, I pray it will sprout and grow and eventually bear fruit, the fruit of faith. Why do I say this? The reason is because whether you realize it or not, the road you are on will never bring you lasting happiness, nor will it end in lasting peace. Jesus warned, wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. Matthew chapter 7, verse 13. I know it's hard not to follow the crowd. No one likes to be laughed at or rejected. But God made us, and life's greatest joy comes from knowing Him and following His plan for us every day of our lives. Only then will we know why we are here, and only then will we know the joy of His presence. This is why I challenge you to turn to Jesus Christ and give your life to Him. Jesus' promise is true. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. John chapter 8, verse 12.
Dear Abby, preschooler being breastfed is a concern for her father. Dear Abby, our daughter turns 5 soon, and my wife still breastfeeds her to bed every night and wakes her a few times at night for more breastfeeding. This has had negative consequences on our marriage. All my daughter's periods have been weaned and have been sleeping alone through the night for the last 3 years. Our daughter's mouth is filled with cavities, and my wife's breasts are non-touch zones sexually. My wife refuses even to consider stopping. Is it time for me to leave? Perplexed Dad in Wisconsin. Dear Dad, no, it's time for your daughter's pediatrician and her dentist to be informed about this because it may not be healthy for your child. Your wife appears to be fostering dependency instead of helping the girl to achieve independence. Your wife may think she has been doing the right thing, but if her own emotional needs are so great that she can't alter her parenting style, you may want to consult a licensed family therapy for guidance. Dear Abby, our 28-year-old daughter, the mother of 2, is in the middle of a divorce from her husband of 3 years. The divorce is not yet final, but she's already involved with a new man. He is 8 years older, jobless, has terminal cancer, lives with his father, and is raising his 6-year-old daughter. This relationship seems wrong in so many ways. We cannot imagine how this could ever come to any good. My daughter is intelligent. She has promising management position with a big company, but she's not the kind to listen to any advice and has never made good decisions when it comes to men. Any advice from you would be greatly appreciated. Unsure in Texas. Dear Unsure, because you love your daughter, be patient and supportive. There is no way to save a daughter who consistently makes poor consequences about men and won't listen to advice. Some people have to learn their lessons to the hard way. The sooner you accept it, the better your own life will be. Dear Abby, my husband and I are in our 50s and have been happily married for 26 years. We have no children. As we look ahead, hopefully many years, to the disposition of our assets once we're past, we wonder what do childless couples do with their former wedding portraits. I'm positive that our siblings would not want or have room for such large photos, and the photographer is no longer in business. I hate to think moments of such treasured events in our life will be tossed in the trash. Any ideas? Susan in South Carolina. If any of your relatives view him or herself as the family historian, often the portraits to the person to be given up upon your dismiss, or even although the portraits are large, they could be digitized and added to the family tree. This way your relatives could have the digital versions, and you and your husband could have the originals placed in your coffins with you when the time of departure. Readers can write to Dear Abby at dearabby.com or P.O. Box 69440, Los Angeles, California 90069, University Euclid.
Horoscopes by Stella Wilder. Born today, you enjoy living life on the edge and experiencing that which others who are more sensible regularly pass up. You are never afraid of where an unfamiliar path will take you, as you always keep your eyes and ears open and remain alert and receptive to danger of any kind. Taurus. Date of birth April 20th to May 20th. Your resistance is not likely to win the results you had hoped for today, so why not join in the fun? What do you have to lose, really? Gemini. Date of birth May 21st to June 20th. You may have a run-in today with someone in charge. State your case as clearly as you can. Don't let yourself be sold a bill of goods. Cancer. Date of birth June 21st to July 22nd. A certain problem can only be solved today via direct means. Any attempt to circumvent it will only make matters worse. Someone learns from you. Leo. Date of birth July 23rd to August 22nd. You're nearing a significant halfway point, and today the decisions you make are likely to impact your progress for quite some time to come. Virgo. Date of birth August 23rd to September 22nd. You may find yourself in a situation that demands of you more circumspection than usual. Don't say something you'll regret. Libra. Date of birth September 23rd to October 22nd. You have access to information that can make the difference between success and failure today, depending on how you use it, of course. Scorpio. Date of birth October 23rd to November 21st. You may feel that things are going downhill in some way, but you can do much to keep any permanent decline from happening. Sagittarius. Date of birth November 22nd to December 21st. You don't know whether what you have to say will cause satisfaction or discontent if you actually say it. You may want to hold your tongue. Capricorn. Date of birth December 22nd to January 19th. Hesitation today isn't necessarily a bad thing, as it depends on the reasons for it. You may have to do some soul searching. Aquarius. Date of birth January 20th to February 18th. You are at the point in a certain endeavor at which it may be best to hand over the reins to someone else for a while. Pisces. Date of birth February 19th to March 20th. You may be called upon to lend a hand today. Do so without complaint, as you'll find that you are able to make a difference. Aries, date of birth March 21st to April 19th. You are putting so much creative energy into one single endeavor, perhaps that you are unable to give others the time they deserve.
Finding the best glasses for your face by Dina Bothnight. When purchasing glasses, overwhelming choices befundle. The right lens, of course, are imperative, but so are the frames. Wearers want durability and attractiveness. The American Academy of Ophthalmology offers frame construction information. Consider whole frames made from metal, titanium, aluminum, stainless steel, or alloys, a mixture of metals. These materials tend to withstand abuse. Stainless steel is often the most affordable. For lightweight, rimless, or drilled frames, plastic is popular. Frames made of soft plastic are recommended by the ophthalmologist for children. Plastic frames are cheaper, lightweight, and available in a variety of colors. Complete Eye Care in Lawton, Oklahoma offers a handy quest for the perfect set of frames. Chart at seemorelivebetter.com. Wearers are guided to the right eyeglasses through various questions, such as, do you work construction or events or any job that requires a lot of lifting and moving? Do you follow the latest fashion trends? Do you tend to break things easily and buy items that are built to last? Depending on the answer, arrows leads to various types of frames and their attributes. For the question, are you especially daring and don't like to conform? The arrow points to the suggestion, bone eyeglass frames, typically handmade and one of a kind. To choose suitably, eyeglass specialists will evaluate the face shape, square, oblong, round, and etc., and provide suggestions. For a square face, for example, oval, round, or butterfly-shaped frames flatter, square, or geometric do not. In general, choose shapes opposite of the face shape.
In brief, Fleury back to being great playoff goalie. Anyone who has played with Marc-Andre Fleury can tell he's dialed in by watching his mannerisms. Last year, he rubbed the shaft of his stick after making a save with it on Alex Ovechkin. This year, he continued a career-long tradition of rubbing the post as a sign of appreciation for keeping a puck out. That's when you know he's in the zone. Pittsburgh defenseman Ali Mata said, Fleury is in one of the best zones of his career in the playoffs with the expansion Vegas Golden Knights, who have followed up a magical inaugural season with a trip to the Western Conference Final. The goaltending of Fleury is the biggest reason they've gotten this far and is a continuation of his remarkable playoff reputation rehabilitation. After taking the Penguins to the Stanley Cup Final in 2008 and winning it all in 2009, Fleury lost 4 of the next 5 series he played, and each postseason posted a save percentage under .900. He has since gotten his groove back, helping the Penguins win the Cup again a year ago, and now leads the NHL playoffs while a 1.53 goals against average and .951 save percentage in 4 shutouts.
Pittsburgh upset raises Democrat hopes. The defeat of the incumbent U.S. Representative Robert Pittner in his Republican primary could give Democrats a wider opening to win the seat and alter the makeup of the House in midterm elections. Pittner became the first congressional incumbent to lose this year when the Reverend Mark Harris narrowly defeated him Tuesday in a rematch of the 2016 race in the state's South Central 9th District. Despite edging the 3-term incumbent, Harris faces a vast financial disadvantage to start the general election campaign. Democratic nominee Dan McCready, a young Iraq war veteran, solar energy company founder, and Harvard Business School graduate, reported $1.2 million in his campaign coffers 3 weeks before his easy primary victory Tuesday. Harris, meanwhile, had just $71,000 in cash while battling Pittner down to the wire. Harris's loyalty to President Donald Trump, a key element in this year's primary, will be tested as an asset or liability in a district where Trump won 54% of the November 2016 vote. Lord, that in most North Carolina districts were the Republican incumbents. The 9th district is still considered Republican-leaning, but McCready's narrative and fundraising has excited Democrats in the district on Capitol Hill. One example, McCready's primary vote total Tuesday was the larger than all 3 Republican primary candidates combined. Dan is clearly energizing voters by providing North Carolinians with a strong vision for their deserved representation in Washington, said Representative Ben Ray Lujan of New Mexico, a chairman of the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee. Eric Hillary, a political science professor at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, said Wednesday that the lack of an incumbent in the race is a big disadvantage to the Republicans, giving nervous national Republicans another choice to make in their effort to preserve the GOP House majority in November. At some point, Republicans are going to have to decide whether to give the other competitive districts or do they want to invest here, Herblin said. A Republican has represented the 9th district anchored in Charlotte since 1963. Court-ordered redistricting 2 years age shifted the district east through social conservative Polk counties along the South Carolina border, then north to Fort Bragg. 2 years later, Harris lost by 134 votes to Pittner in a 3-man race. This time, unofficial results show him roughly 800 votes ahead of Pittner in another 3-candidate contest.
This is a Southeastern North Carolina radio reading service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the SENCRRS in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600. Our toll-free number is 1-844-709-5656. Your radio hosts today are
Gina Edwards
and Corey Good. We are proud to serve you today.
Take time to talk about racism privilege by Ann Smiley. I've been struggling with how to say what needs to be restated about the backlash and the whitewash of white privilege and supremacy. No one says it's better than Leonard Pitts in his recent columns after the late incident at Starbucks. Many whites want to deny disparately that discrimination and hatred because of race still exists, which is a denial of the present day atrocities still happening. Even as that corporation undergoes mass training to try to cope with this miscarriage of racial justice, the underlying culture that white is right will remain until we are able to transform all the disparities that racism has created. In a recent article in the Time magazine, Eddie Glaude pointed out that many of these disparities still exist. 50 years after Dr. King's Poor People's Campaign, home ownership among African Americans is just over 40%, 30 percentage points behind the rate for whites. Public schools are as racial segregated today as they were in 1960s. Black kids are 3 times poorer than whites. The wealth gap between the whites and blacks has tripled over the last century. Dr. King named racism, materialism, and militarism the tremendous of evil. These forces today are even more apparent than they were 50 years ago. As innocent blacks continue to be murdered with impunity, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and we spend 50% of our money on the military buildup of war weapons that we hope we never use. I do love Fayetteville. I felt more welcome as part of a biracial couple here than in the North. Because of this life commitment, I have been active in social justice issues for a long time, including being part of a community conservation coalition that has been presenting Cracking the Cods and Mirrors of Privilege over the past few years here. Also notice that with pain and puzzlement of the rise of racist remarks and behaviors by some whites, mostly since the election of a racist as president, giving people permission to say what they've been thinking for a long time. In my quest to try to understand this Southern way of life, I read and reread Timothy Tyson's book, Blood Done Signed My Name, which gave me some historical insight into his culture of the lost cause. It is a book I highly recommend for those who are looking for some understanding of the embeddedness of slavery. The Community Conversations Coalition has been pleased with the attendance at our events to dialogue between racism. Unfortunately, the attendance has been predominantly minorities who are much willing to talk about their experience as victims of racism than whites are willing to talk about having privilege just because of the color of their skin. We continue to bring the conversation about racism to Fayetteville, this time presenting a speaker from the Southern Poverty Law Center at the downtown headquarters library next Tuesday, May 15th at 6:30 p.m. The Southern Poverty Law Center keeps track of racism and racist groups throughout the country. Noting there are currently 38 active hate groups in North Carolina. We are hoping this figure troubles you as it done me, enough to convince you to attend this event. While we know there will probably be more blacks than whites at this event, also hope Fayetteville white citizens will be inspired to come and listen from a place of responsibility rather than guilt. Ann Smiley lives in Fayetteville.
Best British Royal Podcast to listen to. It's been nearly 7 years since the world was enthralled with the British royal wedding of Prince William and Catherine Middleton. On May 19th, the world will once again get the opportunity to peer into the lives of the royal family, as Prince Harry will marry American Meghan Markle at Windsor Castle in England. Along with the royal wedding of Prince Harry happening this year, the royal family also recently celebrated Queen Elizabeth II's 92nd birthday and welcomed Prince William's and Duchess Kate's third child on April 23rd. To keep you up to date on the latest royal news, here are a few podcasts to listen to. Royal Wedding with Rob Shutter. OK Magazine editor-at-large Rob Shutter hosts the Royal Wedding podcast, giving listeners the inside scoop on what's happening in the palace and planning, the church, and all the parties. Shutter also interviews A-listers about all the excitement surrounding the royal nuptials. Recent episodes include how you can score an invite to the royal wedding, Battle of the Fashionistas, Meghan Markle versus Kim Kardashian, and are Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton BFFs? Find it at http://royalweddingpodcast.com. When Meghan Met Harry, hosts James Barr and Kristen Mister are two best friends who love royal weddings. In their weekly podcast, they obsess over the couple's love story, digest the latest nuptial news, and take a guess at what might happen at the wedding itself. The show also includes expert guests and friends to dish on Meghan and Harry. Recent episodes include Queer Eye for the Royal Guy, Buzzy Wedding Guests Confirmed, and Our Fascination with Fascinators. The Windsor Knot hosts Liege Lord Joe Scribbles and Crown Prince Dan Kruppa host the weekly Windsor Knot podcast and discuss all the latest news coverage of the royal wedding. The duo tackle everything from who's on the invitation list to the size of the cover buns. Scribbles and Kruppa also discuss royal weddings throughout history and any other news pertaining to the royal family. Recent episodes include Eugene, Queen and Flowers, Pod Save the Queen, Daily Mirror correspondents Victoria Murphy and host Ann Gripper give listeners a knowledgeable and enthusiastic view of the royal family. Along with the royal wedding, the duo dive into topics such as the new royal baby and how the royal family is transitioning. Recent episodes include Meghan Markle brings California style, what to expect from the arrival of royal baby number 3, and wedding cake for a new generation. Visit audioboom.com/channel/pod-save-the Queen.
Judge slashes $50 million penalty against Smithfield. A federal judge has slashed $50 million in damages that a jury awarded neighbors of an industrial hog operation in order to punish a pork producer for smells and noise so bad that people couldn't enjoy their rural homes. U.S. District Judge W. Earl Britt ruled this week that North Carolina law required him to cut the size of punitive damages to $2.5 million totaling for the 10 plaintiffs. Attorneys for the homeowners did not respond Wednesday to requests for comment. Britt cited state law that limits the punishment for corporate misdeeds to more than $250,000 and amount 1/20 the $5 million that juries last month ordered Smithfield Foods to pay each neighbor. Neighbors of a 15,000 head Bladen County swine operation also awarded $75,000 each in compensation for conditions that prevented from enjoying their own property. Plaintiffs' attorneys had argued that the state's cap on punitive damages were unconstitutional because it violates the right to an injury trial. However, attorneys from the neighbors recognized that they were asking Britt to rule contrary to a 2004 state Supreme Court decision that determined that limiting how heavily misdeeds could be punished was no barrier to a jury deciding who was at fault. The jury's role in awarding punitive damages can be dictated by our state's policy-making body, the General Assembly, without violating plaintiffs' constitutional right to a trial by jury. Britt wrote in his order filed Monday. The decision was the first in dozens of lawsuits filed by more than 500 neighbors complaining about hog operations. North Carolina legislators last year changed state law to make it more difficult to replicate such nuisance lawsuits targeting hog operations. Smithfield Foods called lawsuits a serious threat to its North Carolina livestock operations and related jobs. The company had said it would appeal last month's jury decision. Lawyers targeted the hog production division of Virginia-based Smithfield Farms, not the Bladen County's farm owner, because they said the Chinese-owned company uses street contracts to detect how farm operators raise livestock that Smithfield owns. The judge order is unlikely to affect the upcoming negligence lawsuit targeting North Carolina hog operation because jurors aren't told that their award could be capped. Wake Forest University law professor Sidney Sharpo said that that's because its jurors knew the law limited damages that are meant as punishment. They might inflate how much they award in compensation. Sharper thinks that Britt's order might be appealed since it doesn't address the Smithfield Foods neighbors complained about nuisance that showed no signs of stopping as long as industrial-scale hog operations kept their current method of waste handling. The plaintiffs argued that the punitive damages were necessary as a deterrent. He said that it was necessary for the jury to indicate to defendants that they wanted behavior. If would continue to endanger the plaintiff's property, that's the argument that the judge did deal with one way or the other. Rural residents have complained about smells, clouds of flies, excessive spraying for decades, but local and state politicians have either supported the political powerful industry or backed down in the face of its clog. Smithfield Foods have changed a local dominant method of hog waste disposal since extensive operations multiplied in North Carolina in the 1980s and 90s. The practice involves housing thousands of hogs together, flushing their waste into holding pits, allowing bacteria to break down the material, then spraying the effluent on the fields with agriculture spray guns. Neighbors said that the spraying sends the smells and animal waste airborne and allowing it to drift into their homes and sometimes coat outdoor surfaces on their property.
Box office bets. Summer movies worth the theater splurge. When the work day, better yet the work week is done, most of us want to get away from it all, even if only for a couple of hours. The most popular method of escaping from reality is entertainment, but for most of it, it's so darn expensive. Of the big four diversions, sports events, live theater, live music, and movies, the last one is still the biggest bargain. Yet according to the National Association of Theater, Owners in 2015, an average movie ticket was $8.25. In 2016, $8.65. Last year, $8.97. In 2018, it'll cost you an average of $9.16 to see your favorite star or franchise. With the summertime onslaught of all sorts of movies about to hit us, there's a need for some guidance, some way to figure out where you might get the biggest bang for your buck. After going through seemingly endless lists of releases scheduled between mid-May and August, here are the top 10 suggestion films that should engage you and make you happy you saw them, no matter what the cost. May 18th, Deadpool 2. Former fast-talking mercenary Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, played by Ryan Reynolds, is back, trying out a new career as a bartender and traveling through time. The villain is mean-spirited Cable, played by Josh Brolin. May 25th, Solo, a Star Wars story. Long before a time ago, young Han Solo, played by Alden Ehrenreich, met young Chewbacca and young Lando Calrissian. Intergalactic adventures ensued. June 8th, Ocean's 8. Danny Ocean's sister Debbie gets together a gang of gals, Kate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway, and Helena Bonham Carter among them, to pull off a big New York heist. June 15th, The Incredibles 2. Pixar and the Parr family are back, but Mr. Incredible has become a homeboy while Elastigirl is out saving the world. Here's hoping the Frozone can find his upper suit. June 22nd, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. There are still plenty of dinosaurs on that island, but when a volcano threatens their existence, our human heroes, Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and returning to the franchise, Jeff Goldblum, try to save them. July 6th, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man, played by Paul Rudd, attempts to keep professional and personal lives in balance when he's asked to team up with the Wasp, played by Angeline Lilly, under the guidance of mentor Dr. Hank Pym, which is played by Michael Douglas. July 13th, Skyscraper. Massive armed Dwayne Johnson is a security expert and hero who's framed for a fire in a skyscraper, then must find the real culprits. July 27th, Mission Impossible Fallout. Ethan Hunt, played by Tom Cruise, and some cohorts must make things right on a mission that, while not exactly impossible, has gone very wrong. August 3rd, Christopher Robin. Mixing live action with CGI, an adult Christopher Robin, played by Ewan McGregor, reunites with his old pal Winnie the Pooh in hopes of finding Pooh's missing friend. August 17th, The Happy Time Murderers. It's a Muppet Norn in which puppet cast members of a kiddie TV show are being bumped off, and a private detective puppet attempts to solve the crimes. Movie preview, Breaking In, starring Gabrielle Union, Billy Burke, and Richard Carbo, directed by James McTeague. Children trapped in a house with Loctite security. Mom will find a way in. These are opening Friday, May 11th. Also, Life of the Party, starring Melissa McCarthy, Jillian Jacobs, Maya Rudolph, directed by Ben Falcon, rated PG-13. Suddenly, single mom goes back to college and parties find herself.
Grace Creek Softball Falls to East Chapel Hill by Jocelyn Schembach. Hope Mills. Grace Creek Softball looked second round bound when the Bears opened Wednesday's playoff opener on steady climb. The Bears, seeded 15th in the NCHSAA 3AS, were tough on division, mowing down three threats from visiting East Chapel Hill, which hit the ball early and often but couldn't find home plate through 4 innings. The Bears' offense tacked on runs here and there, moving on a 2-run lead through 5 innings. But the 6th and 7th innings belonged to the Wildcats, who exploded for 11 runs in the last 2 innings for a 12-5 win to oust the Bears in the playoffs. Defensively, we played well through 5 innings, and then we lost some momentum. Bears coach Stuart Gilmore said, East Chapel Hill grinded the whole game. They hit the ball 1 through 9, but the ball in play and made us make plays. And they took advantage of when we made mistake. Grace Creek ends the year at 19-5. The 18th seeded Wildcats, 15-7, will travel to number 2 Western Alamance for the second round. The Bears started hot, scoring in the first inning when Summer Powell singled home Adley Lambert from second base. Powell went 3-4 on the East Coast. East Chapel Hill put runners in scoring position in each of the first 4 innings, but finally got on the board with a run in the 5th. The Bears answered to lead 3-1 after 5. The Wildcats started the 6th with a walk-in base hit, and a Grace Creek error loaded the base for Claire Peterson, who drove in Kayla Karras and Lindley Lang to tie the game. Violet Kehoe followed with a double that scored Peterson, but the Wildcats, up 4-3, ended starter Jaden Pone's night on the mound. With Skylar Jenkins in on the relief for the Bears, the Wildcats added 4 more runs before the Bears' defense recovered to the inning. The Bears rallied in the 6th, scoring 2 when Mackenzie Masson doubled home Josie Richardson and Courtney Sagan to the Wildcats' lead to 8-5. Any momentum the Bears got back from the rally all but vanished in the top of the 7th when East Chapel Hill pitcher Katie Atashi hit a grand slam over the left field fence to give the Wildcats a 7-run lead. The Wildcats finished the night with 13 hits, and Coach Joe Simmons said it was just a matter of time before his team hits turned into runs. We had a lot of runners in scoring position throughout the game, and we just didn't get the hits, Joe Simmons said. They made a few mistakes to help us a little bit, but our team offensively were pretty solid in all this year. This team, Grace Creek, is so solid on defense that they took away a lot of plays that would have been hits against the teams that were played in the past.
Terry Sanford starts hot. Terry Sanford's Will Roser, number 13, belts a 3-run homer against Southern Nash in the first round of the NCHSAA 3A playoffs in Fayetteville Wednesday.
Police resume digging for remains of missing girl. By Corey Williams, Detroit. Authorities resumed digging in a Michigan forest Wednesday for the remains as many as 7 girls who have been missing for decades. The FBI and other agencies restarted the work at a site about 30 miles northeast of downtown Detroit and Macon Township, police said. Crews arrived there Monday and began digging in earnest Tuesday for the remains of Kimberly King, a 12-year-old girl who was last seen in 1979 in Warren. She is the only one of the missing girls who have publicly identified. Police began searching the site after speaking with a man serving life in prison for the slaying of another girl whose body was found nearby. We certainly are convinced we have the right area. It's just a sad type of situation, said Bill Diner, Warren's police commissioner. King's sister, Connie Billman, said that she had been in contact with the detectives. I obviously am hoping for a recovery, Beeman told the Associated Press in an email. In 2008, Off the Ring led police to the body of a 13-year-old Sydney Zachary in some wooded area she had seen in 1986 after being lured to a Dairy Queen in East Point, just north of Detroit. Ring was convinced of first-degree murder in the slaying and sentenced to his life in prison. After his conviction, he told investigators that Zachary's body was buried near a creek. He also drew a map of the site and spent about an hour at the scene with authorities before he then returned to prison. Zachary had been dating Ring's son at the time of her disappearance. Authorities said Ring, now 68, tickled her by telling her that he was planning a surprise party for her son. At the time of his conviction for Zachary's killing, he was already serving a 15-year sentence on an unrelated molestation charge involving a 14-year-old girl. On Wednesday, police said Ring boasted to fellow prisoners that he had killed several other girls.
Americans detained in North Korea freed. Washington. Freed after more than a year in prison, 3 Americans flew homeward from North Korea late Tuesday toward a big middle-of-the-night celebration featuring President Donald Trump. The latest sign of improving relations between longtime adversaries in the build-up to a historic summit between Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Trump promised quite a scene at Joint Base Andrews outside Washington for the detainees, who were released as Secretary of State Mike Pompeo visited North Korea on Wednesday to finalize plans for the summit. Singapore was likely the site, late this morning or in the early June, for Trump's most ambitious foreign policy ever yet. Shortly after they touched down on American soil in Alaska for a refueling stop Wednesday afternoon, the State Department released a statement from the freedmen. We would like to express our deep appreciation to the United States government, President Trump, Secretary Pompeo, and people of the United States for bringing us home. They said, we thank God and all of our families and friends who prayed for us and for our return. God bless America, the greatest nation in the world. The men had boarded Pompeo's plane out of North Korea without assistance and then transferred in Japan to a separate aircraft with more extensive medical facilities. They were expected to arrive at Joint Base Andrews outside Washington in the wee hours of Thursday morning. Trump made a point of publicly thanking North Korea's leader for the prisoners' release. I appreciate Kim Jong-un doing this, and held it as a sign of cooling tensions and growing opportunities on the Korean Peninsula. Kim decided grant amnesty to 3 Americans at the official suggestion of the U.S. President and North Korea's official news agency, KCNA. North Korea had accused Kim Dong-chol, Kim Hak-song, and Tony Kim, all Korean Americans, of anti-state activities. Their arrests were widely seen as political motivated and had compounded the dire state of relations over the isolated nation's nuclear weapons. Trump entered office as an embattled North Korean developed new generations of nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles capable of hitting the continent U.S., with advances were the subject of President Barack Obama's starkest warning shortly before Trump took office. And this is a crisis he's convinced his negotiating skills can resolve. Crediting himself for recent progress, Trump has pointed to the Kim's willingness to come to the negotiating table as validating U.S. moves to tighten sanctions, branded maximum pressure by the president. The wee hours ceremony Thursday was to be an early celebration for an issue that has already put the prospect of the Nobel Peace Prize on Trump's mind.
What is bursitis and how can I treat it? The human body has more than 150 bursa. These fluid-like fuel sacs act as cushions between bones, muscles, joints, and tendons. Inflamed bursa results in bursitis. Typically, bursitis symptoms are pain, tenderness, swelling, and lots of movement. While tendinitis and bursitis sometimes have similar symptom presentations, tendinitis only affects tendons. Both are often caused by repetitive movement. Bursitis can be brought on by infection due to gout or rheumatoid arthritis. Septic bursitis results in fever and redness around the area. Bursitis is common. In fact, tennis elbow is one of the forms of bursitis that affects the elbow region. Medical News Today says that other areas bursitis commonly occurs in shoulders, ankles, knees, buttocks, hips, and thighs. When bursitis affects the knee, it is sometimes called clergyman knee or housemaid knee. Treatment comes in a few different forms. Sufferers can self-treat by protecting the area against contact, resting the area, avoiding overwork and agitation, using ice pack, a bag of frozen vegetables would do, elevating the area, taking painkillers such as ibuprofen. Sports injury specialists and yoga and Pilates instructor laud stretching as helping for bursitis sufferers. Because hip bursitis is commonly in athletes, SportsmanInjuryClinic.net shares some gentle stretch instructions. Resistant bands are especially helpful. It is useful the outer hip muscles or hip adductors that need strengthening. There are a number of exercises for the hip adductors or muscles which move the leg out sideways from the body. One simple one is using a resistant band. The band is tied to a fixed point, then around the foot. The athlete moves the leg away from the body against the resistance of the band and back. A physician-prescribed medical treatment may be necessary if bursitis is persistent or extremely painful. Medical News Today points out that steroids are sometimes injected in the site to block the prostaglandin, which causes the inflammation, or antibiotics may be needed. Draining of the bursa is rare and only necessary in severe cases.
11 leafy greens to try instead of romaine by Dina Bucknight. At April's close, more than 80 cases of people becoming ill with E. coli after eating romaine lettuce had been reported in 19 states. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention provide an almost daily update regarding this 0157H7 outbreak. Specifically, Yuma, Arizona is where contamination occurred. The problem is that some grocers and many packages do not indicate where produce is grown. The CDC warns not to eat or buy romaine at the present time, and the farm's location is unknown. The mandate is clear. This advice includes whole heads and hearts of romaine, chopped romaine, and salads and salad mixes containing romaine lettuce. If you do not know if the lettuce in a salad mix is romaine, do not eat it. Of those taken ill from eating romaine, 42 were hospitalized, including 9 people who developed a type of kidney failure called hemolytic uremic syndrome. CDC reports no deaths. E. coli contaminated romaine has caused all or some of these symptoms: diarrhea that can be bloody, severe stomach cramps, and vomiting. Until the Arizona-grown romaine scare dissipates, this or plenty of other safe leafy greens to consider. May is actually an ideal time to fill up. These 11, according to the Center for Urban Education about Sustainability Agriculture, are in season, and many or all are available at grocers and local farmers markets. Arugula, collards, watercress, chard, kale, bib lettuce, butter lettuce, mustard greens, spinach. An April Time magazine piece on the subject features a dietitian touting the health benefits of many of these leafy greens over romaine. The magazine calls attention to this fact. Darker leafy greens are often more nutritious, packed with vitamins A, C, and K, plus folate, potassium, and calcium. While washing greens won't get rid of E. coli, says Consumer Reports, it does help remove pesticide residues, surface dirt, and debris. WebMD says the proper technique, including washing hands first with warm water and soap for at least 20 seconds, then scrubbing produce with hands or vegetable brush under a stream of cold water. Bagged salad mixes that are pre-washed do not need to be washed again, says WebMD. But if the package does not indicate the greens were washed, or if you have any doubts, wash them again.
This concludes our radio reading of the Fayetteville Observer. Your radio hosts have been Gina Edwards,
Corey Good.
For our radio listeners, we will now join the Raleigh Network for additional programs. Thank you guys and our YouTube listeners for tuning us in. We've enjoyed being with you. Have a wonderful